Yoshihashi, huh? You think you can be in the G1 climax? Because you threw me over the top rope. This isn't the Royal Rumble. Huh? This is New Japan Pro Wrestling.
This is Alex Grassi, and you're listening to Tiger Driver Radio.
And welcome to another episode of Tiger Driver Radio for all things New Japan Pro Wrestling, AEW, Ring of Honor, and the best of the indies. This is your main man, J to the P, alongside
LL Juicy J.
What the hell was that? Was that like a bad episode of Roseanne? That was...
I felt bluesy.
Felt bluesy? Are you feeling... Yeah, you sad?
No.
Feeling the blues?
No, I'm good.
Then why are you feeling the blues?
Just wanted to...
Can't feel the blues unless you're sad, bro.
I'm not that cool.
You are not that cool. You still listen to Blues Brothers 2000, the soundtrack, you know. Speaking of no taste and whackness, I cannot believe... Well, actually, no, I take that back. I'm really happy to see that Yoshihashi's not in the G1.
He's your boy.
No, he's not.
He's your favorite.
No, he's not. No, there's just no jokes. There's no jokes about that. I'm just super happy that he's not in.
One day you're going to say that how you truly feel about him.
He's basura.
Everybody knows that. Even El Infierno from Nestor World Order, he said, you know what? I think JP, his true feelings are that he loves Yoshihashi.
He doesn't know
secretly.
Shit. He doesn't know shit. It's false. It's fucking false, man. No, man, but the cool thing about like this past couple of weeks just watching wrestling and stuff like that, like I've been watching a lot of wrestling documentaries. Mm-hmm. I've been watching, New Japan and a bunch of other promotions. And one thing that kind of I was thinking about, and like, you know me, like I am such a huge fan of lists, is what are some of them? Maybe we'll get into this a little bit later, man. What are 5 matches that really got you emotionally invested? I'm not talking about you cried or you got angry, just any sort. Can you think of, and give this a little thought? Are there any 5 matches that you see out there or that you've seen in your life as a wrestling fan where you're like, that really moved me?
Like a deep emotion on it?
Yeah, or whether you got super into it, you're like, holy shit, or you got angry at, or point is, you got a reaction. It got a reaction out of you.
It wasn't just like, that was another match. Yeah,
not mad, or that was good, or that was really good. It was like, wow, holy shit,
amazing. Yeah.
We don't have to talk about it now. Let it stew. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of stuff to discuss this week, including stuff about the G1, and there seems to be a lot of rumblings in the wrestling world of people leaving companies, people showing up here and there. We got a lot to discuss. But while we're discussing this, put that on the back burner. 5 matches.
5 matches.
That moved you.
I had to think about that one. I don't know.
Exactly. Think about it, man. Until then, let's talk about Kizuna Road, man.
Let's do it.
Kizuna Road, man. Like I said, these past 4 days at Kizuna Road have been pretty much a showcase of just a lot of teasing of what's going to happen with the G1 and everything else like that. They finally announced the brackets, and all I got to say is, man, the brackets are looking amazing. Like, I am just so
stoked.
I am excited, like so excited for what the G1 holds, man, because like this year it features a lot of new faces, a lot of new possibilities, and it's like, they've announced the whole schedule for the entire thing. Now, granted, we're not going to break down the whole schedule for you because that's a lot of matches for every day between July
and August.
What we can say is for A block, you have Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kota Ibushi, Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay, Evil, Sonata, Bad Luck Fale, Zack Sabre Jr., Lance Archer, and Kenta. And that is just A block.
That's stacked.
That is insane, dude.
That's so cool.
That is so insane. And then there's B block. You got Juice Robinson, Tomohiro Ishii, Toru Yano, which makes me laugh every time, Hiroki Goto, Jeff Cobb.
That's cool.
John Moxley, Tetsuya Naito, Shingo Takagi, Jay White, and Taichi, who I'm glad this year they put him in. I'm so glad they put him in this year because I was a little disappointed last year when they left him out. I was like, wow, like they really don't consider him a top 20 guy in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I was a little bummed. And I feel like after that, Taichi was kind of on this whole mission to prove himself. Like he had some awesome matches. He's won the Never Open Weight twice since then. So he's been proving himself. So I was glad to see Taichi out. I was glad to see Yoshihashi Tanahashi out. But one thing I was shocked about was that Suzuki is nowhere to be found. Like,
That is weird.
nowhere to be found. They did not. Apparently somebody in the front offices thought that Minoru Suzuki is not a top 20 guy.
But then
in New Japan Pro
I mean, the
Wrestling.
same token, I mean, they put Liger or Tiger Mask and all those guys too. Maybe that's why, because they want to, work on their feud, the Liger and Suzuki feud.
Yeah, but I feel like that kind of can take care of itself. And if anything,
Yeah.
it can kind of let it simmer off after the G1, whether Minoru Suzuki won or not, which realistically, I don't think he would win per se. Suzuki was always that guy, that wild card in the G1 where it's like, fuck, he's going to make this guy tap out, that tap out. Also, he has awesome matches with basically anybody. I would love to have seen Minoru Suzuki against John Moxley.
Yeah,
I would love to have
that's
seen Minoru Suzuki against Kenta, or Minoru Suzuki against his own stablemate like Lance Archer, or again against Tai Chi. I know they've faced off before in the past in Pro Wrestling Noah, but it would have been exciting for me, or to see Kota Ibushi against Minoru Suzuki, because like I said, styles make matches. So I mean, I'm a little shocked about that. And in the midst of them announcing the G1, every time Minoru Suzuki wrestles now, he wrestles pissed. Like, he's just beating people's asses and just going left and right, just taking it out on everybody. In fact, he even took it out on Red Shoes, and Red Shoes disqualified him in that elimination tag tournament from night 4.
Oh yeah, where Red Shoes kicked him, right?
Yeah, Red Shoes kicked him in the shoulder to get him off, and then threw him down on the ground and disqualified him. And I'm just shocked. I'm a little shocked. And then the fact that the first night of the G1, for the first time ever in New Japan history, the G1 is in America. It's in Dallas, Texas. We will fucking be there.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it's a little bit of a bummer that John Moxley will not be on that card, but we're getting a treat. We are getting Tanahashi versus Okada. Now, granted, this isn't Tanahashi and Okada from 2013, 2014, maybe even not 2015. But the fact is,
it's just Okada. That's
the
amazing.
fact that it's Okada and it's Tanahashi. Life pretty much. Arguably, both of them are each other's greatest rivals.
Yeah.
Some people might say that Omega is a bigger rival to Okada at one point, but nonetheless, you see these two big name rivals, two basically pillars of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Tanahashi of the previous era, Okada of the current era, and they're going to be headlining the G1 date in Dallas. And then, of course, you have Kenta versus Kota, pretty much two of the best kickers in the business, two of the best strikers in the business, which I'm excited to see that.
It's going to be some insane kicks.
A lot of insane kicks. It's going to get brutal. And then, of course, you have Ospreay against Archer, which last time we saw that, it was definitely a David versus Goliath type situation. Just the undercard in itself is just going to be fun. It's just going to be fun to see a lot of those wrestlers. And I'm glad to see that based on the Dallas card, it's not going to be so heavily reliant on Ring of Honor talent. I looked at the card and it looks very much like a New Japan card from top to bottom.
That's cool.
Exactly. Which
be awesome or privileged to see that.
Exactly, because a lot of things that I know people on the last New Japan tour, a lot of people complain that, I know at the time they were dealing with visa issues and Japanese wrestlers couldn't come wrestle for Ring of Honor at the time. But a lot of times with these New Japan tours, people often say that there's still a little bit of a reliance on the foreign talent, where this time it seems like a legitimate New Japan card. Opening up, you have, Roppongi 3K against the Gorillas of Destiny, which is an awesome test for Sho and Yo. And then, of course, you had Shota Umino and Tomohiro Ishii teaming up against Ren Narita and Jeff Cobb, which you're like, wow, these young lions get to be showcased on such a big momentous card. But that's cool. That's exactly what you would see if you go to Korakuen Hall or Osaka Joe Halls, that the young lions would be in the opening matches. And then, of course, you have Chase Owens and Jay White against Yoshihashi and Goto. Why is Yoshihashi even on this card? I have no idea, but nonetheless, he still is. I don't know. You could have put Togi Makabe. Why didn't you get Makabe on this tour? I would have loved that exponentially more. But nonetheless, you have also Jushin Liger, Juice Robinson, Toru Yano against Bushi, Shingo, and Tetsuya Naito. And then, of course, you go into the G1 matches, which is Ospreay against Archer, Evil against Bad Luck Fale, should be entertaining, two big guys. Sonata against Zack Sabre Jr. should be interesting. Ibushi versus Kenta, and then Okada versus Tanahashi. And that's just day one of the G1 in Dallas, Texas. That is insane.
That's crazy.
That is insane. And just based on the lineup, it looks and feels like an actual New Japan card, not like here's New Japan and half the roster is Ring of Honor guys. In fact, come to think of it, I'm looking at it, maybe two Ring of Honor guys are on here. That being, of course, Jeff Cobb, the Gorillas of Destiny, who are still currently, Ring of Honor and IWGP Heavyweight Tag Champions, which good for them. I know, we can look forward to them having a street fight in New York City later on in the month against
The Briscoes?
Yes, against the Briscoes. So, I mean, that'll be exciting. But nonetheless, I'm just super stoked that this New Japan card feels like a New Japan card.
It's so good that I might not even get popcorn. And you know I love popcorn. So I'm not going to be able to eat it because of all these great matches.
You won't have time. You better get it. Like, you better get it from like the jump, because I'm letting you know right now, I am not leaving my seat. I remember I was so fucking annoyed when I went to the G1 special in Madison Square Garden, because during the Rumble, when Great Muta came out, who was one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, my friend who was late showed up late as fuck, and I had to run down three stories of Madison Square Garden to give him his fucking ticket.
Oh, that's
and then I had to run back, and then the New Japan Rumble was over.
That sucks.
I was so pissed. I didn't let it ruin the rest of my night because the night was great.
Yeah, that's.
But I'm letting you know right now, if you need something from me, you better ask before the first match, because after that, I'm not doing anything. Better pee. You better get your popcorn, or you better hold it.
Yeah.
And just wait for a concession guy to walk up and down, because I'm not leaving. It's gonna be an awesome card.
Sounds like
I'm
a plan.
super stoked.
Let's do this. I'm down.
Exactly. But nonetheless, one thing that was really interesting about how once they announced the G1 cards, and then once once Kazuna Road was kind of progressing, is that you see a little dissension in LIJ with Evil refusing to do
Oh yeah, that was weird.
refusing to do like the signature fist bump at the end, before they do matches, and at the end they would be like, come on man, let's do it, and he's like, to walk out. And I know sometimes they do tease friction between factions, and it happened with the Bullet Club, it happened with Chaos last year, where everyone's like, man, Chaos is just falling apart.
But in LIJ is rare to see that.
Yeah, rare. Exactly. They all seem to have such a tight bond, and now like Evil said flat out, from here on out, everybody's on their own. It's a G1 now, which it's kind of cool to see that Evil's taking it so seriously. Whether he wins, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, he's not one of my top picks.
Yeah.
But if he had a strong showing, I'd be super stoked about that. And I'd be super stoked to see him. I think he's also in the same block. Like, I just want to make sure that he is in the same block as Sonata. Yeah. So, of course, him and Sonata have an opportunity to go at it with each other. And that's going to be interesting, because I'm pretty sure, like I said, cool thing about the G1 is that it's always the setup for what happens in Tokyo in January at Wrestle Kingdom. So who knows what this will set up, whether...
I can't even think of who's going to be, from the storyline standpoint, who's going to end up in the top or the top. End.
And like I said, because a lot of these matches set up storylines for the next couple of months, so who knows, maybe there might be an inner rivalry between Evil and the rest of LIJ. Maybe John Moxley will win the G1, maybe Kota Ibushi will win, maybe Naito will actually win and become a repeat winner, and actually, I hope, win the IWGP Heavyweight title at next year's Wrestle Kingdom. Who knows? Like, the possibilities are endless when it comes to this. I'm just super stoked about it, but I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with Evil, as he's just like, nah, I'm not cool with nobody right now. I want to win this. Like, everybody's on their own. So that's really interesting that they're doing that right now. And another thing too about this G1 tour that I'm excited about, me, I'm always all about these young lions, is that finally the guys from the LA dojo, Clark Connors and Carl Fredericks, two of the young lions from the LA dojo, will now have their opportunity to wrestle in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like, they've done matches in Ring of Honor. They've done a lot of the matches in like the New Japan tours in America, but finally they're going over to New Japan, and they will be teaming with Kenta on the tour. That's
really cool for them.
Of course, their mentor, their teacher, Shibata, unfortunately will not be able to wrestle them in the ring. I mean, who better? What's the best way to replace that? His handpicked guy, Kenta. Yeah. So Kenta will be teaming with, the young lions from the LA dojo. It'll be really interesting how those guys will handle going face to face with the young lions from, the Tokyo dojo. So I'm really excited to see these young lions being featured on the undercard of this G1 tour.
Hopefully their nerves don't get the best of them.
No, exactly. This is time to show the front office what you're made of. You know what I mean? And what's really interesting, and I wonder how this works, is that because these guys trained in LA and Shibata's taking, is teaching them, when they wrestle in New Japan, when they wrestle for New Japan, when they finally get ready to quote unquote take their career to the next level, what's considered an excursion for them? Because they've already wrestled in America a little bit. They're obviously going to get an opportunity to wrestle in New Japan. What do they send them to England?
No, I think it'll probably just be Ring of Honor
or Mexico.
I mean, Ring of Honor would make the most sense,
maybe,
since they're wrestling there sometimes.
Exactly. So I don't know. I mean, who knows? But then again, they might even send. I know right now that Hikuleo is currently in England on excursion. Like, he's out there learning a little bit as well. So there you go. I mean, exactly. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe they might send him to England or Mexico. Who knows? I'm excited to see how these American lions are going to handle the next step in their evolution, which
That'd be
should
cool to see.
exactly, especially now that they're going to be teaming up with Kenta, who, you know, even though Kenta a lot of times, you know, he was tragically underutilized as, you know, Hideo Itami in NXT and in 205 Live. Even he said it on the New Japan podcast that I want to show people how I wrestle, not how stupid Hideo Itami wrestles, in which he said, even he knew that the character was stupid. Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
Man.
Quote unquote. Go on the New Japan podcast.
Yeah.
He said, not how stupid Hideo Itami wrestles, how I wrestle, how Kenta wrestles. And the thing is, Kenta was always known to be a stiff striker, you know, just a guy that basically could take a hit and give a hit. And his style works best in Japan compared to where it was a lot watered down in the United States. So the fact that these young lions get to team up with this guy who's already has an international reputation, they're going to be under the learning tree.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great, you know. And another thing too that also happened, you know, on the road to Kazuna was the fact that we have new IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions with El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm kind of glad to see that the junior belts are off of Roppongi 3K, but at the same time, I was very underwhelmed with Taiji Ishimori and El Phantasmo. And I know Taiji Ishimori is dealing with the shoulder injury right now. Phantasmo, I know he can work. I know he's an awesome wrestler. I just felt like I was just kind of like,
Yeah, it was just an okay match.
It was just an okay match when they beat, you know, Roppongi.
And also, I don't know what they're doing with Sho, that it seems like when he's in tag match, his wrestling skills are worse than when he's in the singles matches, and they make Yo the star instead of Sho, and it should be the other way around. I don't know why that is.
I don't know if it's necessarily that they're trying to like help Yo out by showcasing him, because I think it's pretty evident that Sho is the standout of those two. And it's not to say that Yo isn't a star either. I mean, I see a lot of potential in him too, but Sho, like I said, he showed it, you know, during the Best of the Super Juniors, like, damn, like this kid can work, you know, and Yo did good. Like I said, it's like the best way I can describe it, if Yo got a solid B+, Sho got an A+ and some extra credit. If I was going to, you know, grade them in a classroom of pro wrestling, like as a fan, it's just like, all right, you got a B+, you did good, but he just did better. So I don't know if necessarily they're trying to find some way to like push Yo as well to kind of
make him equal,
because or to give him shine.
So good.
Exactly. I don't know, but I think, you know, regardless of what you try to do with booking, cream always rises no matter what. And Sho is obviously, in my opinion, the standout of that group. And I would love to see Sho, if it's even possible, to have him convert to being a heavyweight. It would be absolutely spectacular. Nonetheless, I'm glad to see that they don't have the belts anymore. Give it to El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori, and we'll see what happens from here on out. Like, who's next to challenge for them?
Yeah, it's a good question. Can't even think about.
Can you think like who's next? Who might be interesting? Who knows? You know, like I said, who, and especially since the fact that we also have the Super J Cup happening right after the G1, you might start bringing in a lot of foreign talent outside of New Japan, Ring of Honor, CMLL. And you might see other lightweights from other promotions even challenge for those belts, which would be also exponentially interesting.
Yeah.
You know, because I honestly think sometimes, like, personally lately, I think the junior division in terms of tag wrestling is lacking. You know, you don't see a lot of, you know, diversity like you did a couple years ago. Like the heavyweight division all around is fine. The heavyweight tag division, you know, it is what it is, you know, but as far as like the junior heavyweight division in terms of singles competition, great. The tag right now is a little lacking, you know, and I was not that impressed with El Phantasmo and Ishimori. But then again, they haven't been tagging that long.
Yeah,
either.
that could have been an amazing match, but they didn't do so great.
It was just
a little. It was okay. Even the fans, you could hear the fans. They weren't excited with it.
It was
okay.
mediocre.
Clap here and there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that it did is that it just kind of pushed the character of El Phantasmo as being cocky and conceited. And it's also interesting that his cockiness has kind of pushed Robbie Eagles a little bit outside of the Bullet Club, and it'll be interesting to see how Robbie Eagles conducts himself when they tour Australia.
Yeah.
Because of course he has his match against Will Ospreay. Like I said, if you pin a champion during a tournament, you get the opportunity to challenge him later on, which now he has his chance. So we'll see if Robbie Eagles can in fact beat Will Ospreay on, you know, the Southern Showdown tour. And then on top of that, will this kind of hint at Robbie Eagles breaking off out of Bullet Club? We'll see.
He makes his own faction with Evil.
Yeah, right. Which would be weird, totally weird, you know. But I don't know. I'm really excited. And then of course the Never six-man open weight champions, which is Togi Makabe, you know, Toru Yano, and of course Taguchi. They retained over the Bullet Club. And the thing is, what was really funny about that is that, Phantasmo thought like, okay, I just won the junior tag belts. Tomorrow, I'm teaming up with other guys in Bullet Club. That being, of course, Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp, and Chase Owens, and we're going to take the Never Six-Man Tag Team Championships, which they failed with none other than a schoolboy from Toru Yano on Chase Owens. I think it's kind of cool that these New Japan guys right now with Makabe, Yano, and Taguchi are able to kind of maintain a grasp on those championships, because the one thing about those championships is that the Never Six-Man open weight tag championships have always kind of been hot potato. Like a team will have it for a couple days, they'll lose it. They'll have it for 1 or 2 title defenses, lose it. This is their 3rd defense, and they've kept it. Hopefully they keep this, kind of going on for a while. Like I said, all 3 of these members have been, of course, champions before, but this is already the 19th team to hold that championship, which is crazy as well. But also another thing that I also want to point out before we move on is that it was nice to see Hiroshi Tenzan come back on this tour, after having a knee surgery. Unfortunately, him and his team of Kojima, Ibushi, Liger, and Tiger Mask lost against LIJ, which this match was where it showcased that Evil has no interest in being friendly with his teammates right now. That he's like, nope, you're on your own. It's the G1 time. And it just makes me excited. I'm actually a little shocked that neither Kojima or Tenzan were even included in the G1. But I guess they wanted to bring in some new blood, which I'm all about. Like, I'm excited for this year's, G1.
Yeah, no veterans.
Like, as far as, the veterans are concerned, if you
So
really...
it's just Tanahashi, right?
As far as veterans, it's like, as far as old school guys, like past generation guys, you have Tomohiro Ishii and you have Tanahashi, who are guys from previous generations that are still going right now. Because, the thing that's really interesting about Tomohiro Ishii is that I always felt that he has the caliber to be an IWGP heavyweight champion, but they don't do it. And I don't necessarily know if it's because he's older, because the thing is, he's been wrestling for, I believe, 20 years, but it wasn't until his career in 2013 at that G1 where people started to really take notice. Like, his career has only taken off from 2013. So these past 6 years, he's had a much better position in his career. But the thing is, before that, he was always considered like a mediocre wrestler. He's okay. He's just small.
Maybe he'll be the surprise this time around.
I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe with this G1, you'll actually have a surprise winner. Because the thing is, even if you do win the G1, you still have to defend your briefcase. You have to defend your briefcase of like, okay, this is my contract for the Tokyo Dome. But if I lose it and I lose a match between now and December, that's it. That opportunity can go to someone else. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see how the G1 pans out. Do you already have an early prediction?
I don't. Like I was telling you earlier, it's hard for me to predict who's going to be left at the end. Who's going to be the top performers. It's a hard one. The only one I could think of that maybe will do a good job is Shingo, Ospreay, Ibushi,
and Moxley.
Yeah.
I think personally, I have a feeling one of 2 things are going to happen. I think
Naito maybe.
Naito might take it this year. Or we might see Ibushi take it. I just hope we don't see Ibushi versus Naito again. I think those guys need to be kept away from each other.
For a while.
Because did you see that last match that they had during Dominion? I mean, the way he landed that
his neck?
Terrible German suplex with the sideways neck thing, and they just don't give a shit about each other's well-being. And I'm like, you need to keep these fucking people away from each other. Yeah. It was kind of rough to watch it a little bit, especially because I remember watching All Japan Pro Wrestling back in the day where you saw Misawa against Kobashi, and you just see them just hitting these ridiculous power bombs and tiger drivers on their fucking necks, and it's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? I understand pandering to the crowd and getting a crowd behind these crazy matches, and it's all about strong style, but shit, you've had your neck surgically repaired once, man. Shit. So it's just keep those 2 fucking guys away from each other for the foreseeable future. So I just hope either Naito wins and that's it.
Yeah.
And Ibushi wins, but I don't want to see Naito versus Ibushi again. Not because I don't love to see them wrestle, but because they are just fucking crazy with each other. They don't give a shit. And for their career's sake, I don't want them to get hurt. That's it. Just for their career. Because everyone knows that the G1 is the hardest tour.
It's long.
And not only in New Japan, but a lot of people wrestling-wise saying that is one of the most difficult, grueling tours in any company, because it's essentially almost a little over a month stretch, which they heard wrestlers even say that when they're in tag matches, it's a break, from them competing in their, main
singles
tournament match.
Yeah.
Exactly. So nonetheless, I'm excited. I think we'll expect strong showings from Moxley, from Ibushi, from Naito, from Okada, and even Kenta for that matter. I think we'll get some strong showings. I can't tell. I'm not confident in saying Naito's going to win it. I'm not confident, but that's my pick.
You're 90%.
Not even 55.
55%.
Yeah, because like this year's brackets are insane. It's amazing, and it leaves me wondering like what are the possibilities between now and January when we have Wrestle Kingdom, which for the record, I'm taking that time off. I am not doing what we did this past year with the other Nesios and staying up till like 5, 6 a.m. and going to work all day. That's not happening. I am not doing that again. Hell no.
Do it.
No. But nonetheless, man, speaking of possibilities, there's a lot of changes going on in things outside of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Let's talk about change, brother.
Let's talk about change.
Nothing is still on Earth. Everything's always changing.
Change is something that will follow you all of your life.
Yeah, man, lots of changes going on in things outside of pro wrestling. A lot of people leaving, a lot of people coming and going. First off, from MLW, Daga, that's it. Daga's out of MLW. Apparently, MLW was very upset that he took a booking in Mexico instead of wrestling for MLW on a date. But the only reason why Daga took that Mexican date, apparently, was that he was there in Mexico for the christening of Phoenix's son. Like a little religious ceremony for anybody that's not familiar. It's a Catholic thing. And he just said, like, he only took the booking out of respect for Phoenix, since he's like, I was already going to be down there, so I might as well just take the booking anyway, since I can't be in America. But apparently MLW wasn't a fan of that. So, and I know Daga was kind of getting turned into a heel on MLW television. So I guess
Tessa Blanchard got him in trouble.
Tessa Blanchard. No, I mean, this is all Phoenix. This is all Phoenix. This is like him. Tessa had nothing to do with it. You fucking dick.
Maybe Tessa was the one like, you should do it. Do it.
What, the booking?
Yeah.
No, it was all done because of Phoenix.
Yeah.
Tessa had nothing to do with it. You chauvinistic pig. This is why women hate men. You're so quick to blame women. You fucking sexist. Anyway, pig. Daga's he's out of MLW, man. And the thing is, I think Daga said that he's still open to working with MLW in the future if the opportunity presents itself. But for right now, he's out. And another guy who's out of MLW is, of course, Sami Callihan.
Sami Callihan.
He's done with the company.
Is it because he spit on Jim Cornette?
No. I think he was already done. I think he was getting ready. I think he did that because he knew he was leaving. He's like, you know what? Fuck. Everyone knows that Sami Callihan, there is no love lost between him and Jim Cornette. Like, I fucking hate Jim Cornette, and I just think Jim Cornette does it because he likes to get heat. Yeah. I don't think he genuinely believes half the shit that comes out of his mouth. I don't think he does. And if he does, he's doing it. If he does believe in what he says half the time, he does it because he knows it pisses people off, and that brings more people to his fucking podcast and to his brand, and he sells T-shirts. So,
do you hate him more than Yoshihashi?
No, I don't hate anybody more than Yoshihashi. That is another level of hate. But nonetheless, yeah, Sami Callihan looks like he's also done with MLW. But then on the flip side, Savio Vega is coming to MLW.
Savio Vega.
AKA Quang, one of my favorite jobbers in WWE. Quang. If you don't know who Quang is, go look him up. Quang versus Undertaker, one of my favorite WWE matches of all time. I'm serious. Go look it up. It happened on Monday Night Raw in the mid-90s. Quang versus Undertaker.
I am going to look it up.
Yeah, man. I remember when I was a kid, when Savio Vega was under the mask of Quang. Like, because Savio Vega's a bigger guy. He's like stocky as all shit. We used to call him the Big Titty Samurai because like he'd have that singlet, but his fucking like man boobs would always slip out of his singlet. So it looked like he had like a training bra, and it was just terrible, man. They used to call him Big Titty Samurai. Yeah, Quang the Big Titty Samurai. We used to call him that. So yeah, but nonetheless, Savio Vega, if you're listening to this, which you probably aren't, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. You're awesome. He is coming to MLW to be featured, but also to kind of help out and coach talent. Yeah. Which nonetheless, he has been a producer in the past, especially for Impact. So he has a proven track record. And then also, another interesting news is that for Ring of Honor, Gresham signed a new deal, which, that's really cool. I think Gresham is a guy that needs to be featured in a more prominent role to where he'll start getting bigger title shots, but he'll also be training new people at the Ring of Honor school, which is great. And then, of course, Maria Manic from the Indies, who's done a lot of deathmatch stuff, real badass chick, good friend of Jordan Grace. also got signed to Ring of Honor recently. And I think, like I said, one thing that Ring of Honor needs is to beef up their women's division. I mean, it's cool that they have that they kind of have a couple of things going with Stardom. They had Mayu Iwatani for a little while and stuff like that. But it would be nice to see other talent be featured, as well. And of course they have the team of Allure, which is the beautiful people.
That's an interesting stable.
It's an interesting stable, and it works really well. But no less, having someone like Manic in that promotion, like, she's a beast in the ring, dude. Like, a no frills, no bullshit wrestler. I'm excited to see her in there. She can tear it up. She's gonna tear it up. And like I said, I've seen her do some couple of deathmatch things. She is not afraid to get dirty. She's not afraid to get bloody. So it's nice to see someone that hard hitting in Ring of Honor. And of course, like I said, I'm always happy to see anybody who's featured from Stardom come on over to Ring of Honor. But nonetheless, she got signed to a deal as well. But I know Juice Robinson has opted to no longer continue with Ring of Honor, even though they have a working relationship with New Japan. He just felt that, what was his words exactly?
That it would be a detriment to his image.
To his image. And do you agree with that statement?
I think I do. Lifeblood wasn't making sense. Nothing was happening with Lifeblood. It was also in between tours they were doing with New Japan, so it kind of disappeared and nothing was going on with it. Like, you have Bandido and a lot of good people on this, and him going to New Japan and back and forth, you can really emphasize what Lifeblood is without
its leader.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's like, what is it really doing? It doesn't do anything. It's like, of course you have him, and then of course Bandito, who's in the Best of Super Juniors, who are two members of Lifeblood. All you really had was Hot Sauce Tracy Williams, Mark Haskins, which I will say Mark Haskins is a fucking standout. Like, Mark Haskins is a beast. He's a beast. Like, that guy goes in there and whips people's asses. He can wrestle any style, and I would be more than happy to see Mark Haskins at some point get a Ring of Honor world title shot. I think he deserves a lot more in the future. I'm not saying that he's been underutilized. It's still very early, but I think Mark Haskins, you might have a future Ring of Honor. In fact, I would hope, if they're smart, that Mark Haskins is a future Ring of Honor world champion.
I see him going there.
Absolutely.
He'll be a top guy.
He's a top guy. He has the intensity. He has the look. He has the skill. But the thing is, outside of those, and then of course the fact that they lost
to Neil Dashwood.
Yeah, they lost to Neil Dashwood. What's left with Lifeblood?
Finley's hurt. I don't know when
Finley is also back. Exactly. Like, so it feels like the faction was super control. In my opinion, when it was put together, it felt a little like, what really connects these guys? Nothing. What really connects all these people to join together? Because it just seemed like a mishmash of talent. Now, if it would have been something like, I don't know,
like Bandido and Roosh,
and Mark Haskins or something, it would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And I know Roosh, I think, kind of stand on his own. He needs to stand on his own, and he has been standing on his own. And I feel like Roosh is also slowly building into becoming a future Ring of Honor world champion as well. And not to mention, we can't forget that, the one thing that has kind of been giving some eyes to Ring of Honor has also been the fact that GOD is their current tag team champions, and they've been holding that division down outside of them wrestling.
Yeah, that's surprising too, because I thought it was just going to be one of those quick things that turn around real quick.
No, and they've been appearing on Ring of Honor television regularly too. Yeah. So, and that kind of makes me happy that it isn't just going to be a one-off thing, a defense here, defense there, and then done. Like, no, they've been defending these belts.
Yeah.
And of course, building another storyline again to go against the Briscoes, which that's the match that I wanted. I wanted to see when it happened all the way in Madison Square Garden, even though it got turned into a 4-way, I wanted to see the Briscoes versus GOD, two teams, who's the best. It turned into a 4-way, which the 4-way was decent. It was good, but I would have much rather have seen, okay, damn it, let's settle it. Who's the best? One or the other. Unfortunately, within the mix, of course, Villain Enterprises got thrown in there. One, because of course they won the tournament and everything else like that. But nonetheless, the one thing that I have to say that I'm a little still perplexed about when it comes to Ring of Honor is just erratic booking. That's it. Like, they seem to book well when it comes to their Ring of Honor world title matches and their television championships, but the undercard and everything else just seems to kind of just get lost in the shuffle. It's just matches thrown together, and I would like to see more of a focused product.
More storylines
that were consistent. And I don't know if it's necessarily hard to do that because of their TV taping schedule, but I think with the way things are, it's hurt them. And they've also missed out opportunities on building things that could have been built up.
popularity is hurting right now.
The popularity is hurt, and the thing is, it's unfortunate because they do have a strong roster, but I think unfortunately, a lot of wrestling fans can be fucking fickle, and everyone's so focused on AEW, which I am too. But I think what doesn't help Ring of Honor is the erratic writing. Build your stars, like build them, and it's going to take time, and I understand that. There was no reason for you to lose Juice Robinson, none.
Yeah, especially when you made all those big announcements that it was going to be the best thing ever in Ring of Honor.
Exactly, and it kind of fell flat. And then, of course, in my opinion, with their current women's champion,
Kelly Klein
is a little, I'm sorry, underwhelming as a performer. I would have much rather have kept it on Mayu Iwatani, if anything, or I don't know, have Mayu Iwatani win it at Madison Square Garden, only to lose it to a member of Allure, and then build a program, then have Maria Manic come in there and kick ass.
Somebody chasing for the title.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But of course they didn't do it that way. And I just wish that I hope that they're going to kind of get their writing together, because Ring of Honor is a strong promotion that unfortunately I think lost out on being the number 2 company in America.
Yeah, it sucks for them.
It sucks for them.
I don't know. Do they use writers? Maybe
they use writers and producers as well. I don't know how many or whatever else, but I just know that whatever has been given as far as booking, it's inconsistent at times.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, when it came to New Japan Pro Wrestling, I know Ring of Honor co-run shows with them to an extent, and trades talent. But did New Japan really need Ring of Honor to sell Madison Square Garden?
Not really.
Not really. I think one of the things that was really strange is that the strength of selling those tickets relied on the fact that everyone thought the Elite was going to be there. And then when they weren't, people were worried like, oh man, people are like trying to sell their tickets. Come the night of, it was sold out still. I was there. There wasn't an empty seat. The card was still strong, but the strongest parts of that card came from the New Japan talent. The Ring of Honor talent, they did what they did. Like I said, Ospreay against Cobb was amazing. The street fight with Lifeblood and of course Bully Ray was entertaining but it was all right.
Yeah.
The ladder match was great, but still all the consistently good matches were New Japan talent. So I just hope Ring of Honor can kind of utilize their talent a lot better, because I think you have a lot of stars in there. Bandito, push him. Mark Haskins, push him. When you get Maria Manic, push her.
Need to do something right away with those guys.
You need to do something right away, because you are losing some interest, and there should be no reason, because you have a strong roster. So use your strong roster and use it well. That's my only.
You have a streaming channel to do that consistently.
Exactly. Change something or keep falling behind.
Yeah.
That's my only gripe, because I do like Ring of Honor. I've always liked Ring of Honor. And then speaking of Ring of Honor and New Japan, I know Davey Boy Smith has finally decided to leave New Japan after all these years. And I think he's decided to leave Japan because of the simple fact that he felt that his career in New Japan was stagnant. He was tired of the tag team wrestling. He wanted to be a singles competitor, and I don't think they really saw him as a value to become a single star. I think he's like, all right, well, if you don't see the value in me, then I'm going to leave.
That kind of sucks. I got used to seeing him in Suzuki-gun. Like this past shows in the Kuzina Road. It was weird not seeing.
Because even when he was in Noah, he was with Suzuki-gun in Noah. Even back then with Shelton Benjamin and stuff like that. And then now he's not there, and it's just now like him and Lance Archer aren't together. It feels weird. However, I think Lance Archer is going to be fine. I would like to see Lance Archer branch out as a solo guy. I think he can. He has the size. He has the look. Why not?
Yeah, these recent shows, he was giving Okada a really hard time. So
exactly,
I agree with you.
Whether he wins a G1, probably not, realistically. But it doesn't mean that he can't be a solo star himself.
Yeah, that claw he has, that big old hand.
I'm so glad that he's using that. Yeah. It's kind of like a little nod to the Von Erichs.
Yeah.
He is from Texas, so it's kind of cool that he's paying tribute to like some of his Texas wrestling heritage and using that claw. Because when do you ever see anybody use the claw anymore? Like never.
Nobody.
So that's cool that he decided to say, okay, I'm bringing this shit back. And I know the Von Erichs, in MLW are currently utilizing the claw, but it's cool to see someone else who's not related to the Von Erichs do it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I do want to point out on July 4th weekend as well, besides New Japan Pro Wrestling, Game Changer Wrestling is holding a backyard wrestling pay-per-view. They're doing did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they're doing a pay-per-view that's based around backyard wrestling legends from the internet. So apparently there's a couple of people who are backyard wrestlers that turned professional, and I guess for this one night only, they're going back to their backyard wrestling gimmicks. And I don't know if it's going to be necessarily like they're going to have it a pay-per-view where it's a wrestling ring in a backyard, or they're going to actually set up a trampoline. But according to the advertisements online, it is going to be backyard wrestling. Like you're going to see mattresses and barbed wire and trampolines and ladders and chairs and just furniture. If Game Changer actually hosts a pay-per-view that's just backyard wrestling featuring some professional wrestlers, I'm I'm gonna lose my shit. Because, and I mean this in a good way, because what kid did not wrestle when, us growing up as kids? How many times did you wrestle in the living room or in somebody's trampoline or backyard and try to do like a power bomb on your friend, or try to hit a frog splash or something, or try to break a table or something, or whatever? Like, did you do it? I did it. Yeah. So the fact that they're doing a pay-per-view about like backyard wrestling, and it's going to feature a lot of like, because I remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, I remember seeing like the best of backyard wrestling on VHS and DVD.
Oh yeah, they even had their own promotion.
Exactly. Or like they had their own loose network of different people submitting tapes. Apparently some people from that era are going to be at this.
That's crazy.
Which is insane.
Oh, they even had a video game back then, I think.
They had a backyard wrestling video that featured New Jack and Sabu, which is hysterical, which is the craziest video game ever. But the cool thing is, like, to caveat off of that, it's kind of cool that a promotion is going to pay tribute to something that I think every kid in America did that loved professional wrestling. If you loved professional wrestling, we all, if you didn't backyard wrestle all the time, you probably put, your sibling in a sleeper hold. Like, everybody did wrestling, at some point, or tried to fuck around and fool around. So it just shows you that, like, Game Changer is a promotion that's full of fan service, and I am totally going to watch his backyard wrestling pay-per-view. It'll be brilliant. It's going to be hilarious. And I'm ready to see people do some insane stuff off of a trampoline. Hopefully nobody gets hurt too bad. With that being said, one of the things about backyard wrestling is that in order to be a backyard wrestler, or in order to kind of relate to being a backyard wrestler, that means that these kids and these pro wrestlers were at one point were inspired by something. Like when they watch something, they're like, I can do that. Whether they end up just doing it in the backyard and then it stays in their teenage years, or whether they fall in love with wrestling, become a backyarder, and then become a professional. Or they're like, you know what? I'm going to be a pro. And they just go from watching it on TV to being a pro. The point is that I just think it's so cool that Game Changer is going to do something like that. And that's what kind of inspired like my question this week. What are 5 matches that meant that much to you? Because everybody that's ever fell in love with wrestling, whether it was because whether you watched, WWE or WCW or NWA or World Class or New Japan, All Japan, whatever the hell you watched back then, it's like everybody was inspired. When it came to being inspired, some matches stick with you. Like, that was a badass match. That was so good. It brought out emotion out of you. So with that being said, I was like, what are our top 5s, man? So you know what? Let's think on it for a second, and then we'll get back.
I need you to take me out for a look. I know I'm on that list. I can't. I feel weird about it. I feel weird in my soul being on the list.
First of all, nobody gets taken off the list.
Alrighty, kids, we're back.
We're back.
And after much deliberation and a lot of thought, and I'm pretty sure after we stop this episode and I'll be in bed tonight, I'll be like, oh, I forgot this, or I forgot that. But I was thinking about 5 matches that got me so emotionally invested, where you're like, wow, holy shit, like, just, wow. And I'm not necessarily talking about technical wrestling. I'm not necessarily talking about the most violent. I'm not necessarily talking about a tearjerker. I'm just talking about matches that for you that did something to you emotionally. When you watched it, you got so into it, like you were drawn into it, and we'll start with each other. I decided not to put this in any particular order, like here's 5 and then here's 1. I just listed 5 matches that I thought.
Do you want to do one match and then I do one?
Yeah.
Well, you
know what, you start first and then I'll go.
Okay,
we'll do number 4. Now when we say number 5, we're not saying that this is your 5th best. This is just
one of them.
All right, okay. So go number 5.
Number 5. So this one I chose it because it was at the time where I was really into backyard wrestling that we talked about earlier, and for me it was a really cool match. Although it was in the undercard for this show, it was Rey Mysterio versus Sabu in ECW 2006.
Oh, when they brought it back. Gotcha.
That's I really like that match because, again, the backyard wrestling, I was into it. It was crazy. It has 2 of my favorite guys in the match, so I really liked that match, so that's why I chose it.
Well, because it was just like there was a lot of spots with like chairs and tables and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, that was an entertaining match. I thought the finish was shit. Yeah. I was so mad about that finish. I'm like, come on. Sabu DDT'd him through the table, right?
Yeah.
And then they called it. Like, that's it. I'm like, no. Like,
that kind of sucked.
Like, roll him in.
I mean, it looked nasty.
Yeah. But I'm like, no. No,
But,
roll him
yeah.
in and then finish.
Yeah.
That's the only gripe I have about that match. The match was awesome.
I still think that he was legitimately hurt
I
when
agree.
that happened, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, just right now,
I
you
like
see, you remember certain matches because I remembered it too, and immediately I got
Yeah.
mad. See, it evoked an emotion out of me. I'm not saying it means a good one or a bad one, just it did something.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there was other matches in ECW. I mean, people are probably hearing this and they're saying, why he picked this one? But I mean, of course, you have Taz versus Mike Awesome and all those RVD matches that you had, cool matches. But just this one for me, it meant a lot because it was a luchador against Sabu, and that's why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I totally get you. That's
Yeah.
that's really cool though, you know,
Yeah.
because I know you very much love lucha libre, you
Yeah.
know, as well. But I'm gonna also pick an ECW one for number 5, but a completely different direction.
Yeah.
Also with Sabu though, 1997, Born to Be Wired. It was the World Heavyweight Title match, Terry Funk versus Sabu in a barbed wire death match. Now this match.
Yeah.
The first time I saw this match, this is what, 1997, so I was 14. And I remember a couple of months after it happened, I finally got it on VHS from like, I don't know, I think I ordered it from like High Spots or something, like through mail order or some shit. And I remember I watched this match and was just completely like horrified because it was barbed wire. And I remember there was this spot where Sabu like did try to do an air Sabu off of a chair into Terry Funk when he was like kind of like standing in the corner. Funk moves out of the way. He lands sideways doing an air Sabu and rips his bicep open.
Man.
Like the barbed wire, you see it. He rips his bicep open. You see meat hanging out.
Dang.
So basically all Sabu does is take his tape and wraps his arm shut and continues with the match. Mind you, Terry Funk goes over there and just kicks him in the face, hits him with the neck breaker, and Sabu's just still rolling this tape around his arm while he's getting his ass beat. And then the thing about this match that really got to me is that there was a spot at the end where he put Terry Funk on the table, wrapped him in barbed wire, then Sabu wrapped himself in barbed wire, jumped off of the apron into like a leg drop, like an Iranian face buster, onto the table, cracked it, but because they were both in barbed wire, they got tangled, and then they basically barely made it back into the ring and were pretty much like on top of each other, and then Sabu just uses momentum to lay on top of Terry Funk for the count of 3.
Yeah.
Mind you, they're entangled in a barbed wire net together. Like they can't move.
Yeah.
I remember afterwards, the referees, everybody's coming in there with wire cutters trying to cut them out. Like they could not move. They got tangled in barbed wire together, and Sabu only won because he couldn't move anymore and just laid on top of him because they were tangled. And I just remember it was so bloody and gruesome, and I had never fucking seen anything like that.
That's
At that time, I had never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
So as a 14-year-old, 15 maybe, I was like 14 going on 15, I was like, what the fuck? But the thing is, at the time, I couldn't get enough of it. It was like my start of like, I gotta find more hardcore stuff, So when I started finding about Big Japan Pro Wrestling and FMW, but this left such a mark on me that it also changed the way I looked at wrestling in terms of like, man, these guys are willing to like go far just to entertain us. Fuck. Like that was just, to this day, I'll watch it and I'm like, that is still brutal. And I know nowadays you see guys using fucking weed whackers on each other and staple guns and all kinds of crazy shit. The reason why I like this one much more is just, it wasn't violence for the sake of violence. There was some ring psychology. Sabu wanted to be champion. Terry Funk was defending it. It was still coming off of him winning the world title after that emotional match he had with Raven prior to, and the thing is that like Terry Funk being as old as he was at that time, it's like, man, can he still do this shit? And the fact that he just had this violent match, it still stuck with me. It's like, fuck, that's fucking insane. So that right there, it made me scared.
Yeah.
And it was exciting to watch it. But that was definitely something that stuck out of my mind. So it's cool that you and I both had a Sabu match on there.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like, oh, it was a technical masterpiece. It was like, no, it really got emotion out of us, But anyway, you're number 4, dude.
Numero 4. So this one is not really the match as much, so I don't know if you're going to throw a flag on this, but I remembered it because it caused a lot of emotions when it would happen after the match. And this one was in 1999. Rey Mysterio and Conan faced Kevin Nash and Scott Hall.
I know exactly what you're getting at.
And Rey Mysterio got unmasked
because he lost. And this made me so angry. It was just like, man, don't these people know how much the mask signifies for a luchador? And
I don't know. It's just like, why did you do this? He's such a big star, and I mean, good thing that now he's still making it with the mask back on. But when it happened back then, I mean, usually when you get unmasked, you don't put the mask back on. You just leave it.
You're done.
And I was so angry. I was so pissed. I was so mad.
No,
yeah. When that happened. So that one for me it caused a lot of emotion.
I totally agree with you on that, actually, because it wasn't so much. The match itself was just a match.
Yeah.
It was what happened after. And when I saw that, I was like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Like right there, see, I get mad again. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? You're going to not only let Mysterio lose, but lose in a match to where he loses. That's tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that's a good call. I would have never have thought about that, you know, but yeah, like that is such a good call because that is such a big part of his tradition. It's kind of like you deflated his career a little bit. Yeah. You know, and luckily he was able to kind of reclaim that. But
yeah, because that mask means so much to luchadors. Not even nowadays, it still means a lot. And when you get a mask, it's a big deal. I mean, I don't even remember the match that well because it wasn't a great match, like you just said. And why even do it there too? Like unmask him in such a really bad in that moment too. Like he's becoming something awesome, and it just made me mad. I thought he wasn't going to make it after that. Yeah. But good thing, like I said earlier, he made it back. He put his mask back on.
Became a big star.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know, I completely agree with you. Yeah. Oh man, that did suck. I remember I think even years later, Kevin Nash said like we should have never have done that.
Yeah.
I think he even regrets doing that or saying like, no, we should do it. But I think they were just doing it because they were hurting for ratings back then. You know, because '99 was kind of like a rough year for WCW before it shut down.
Yeah.
But yeah, my number 4 was also kind of controversial, but not for the same reasons. And that was number 4. This is a New Japan match from 2000, April 7th, 2000 in the Tokyo Dome. And I remember watching this on live television when I lived in Japan, because I lived in Japan for a couple years in high school. It was one of the original musketeers of New Japan in the 90s. It was Shinya Hashimoto versus popular MMA guy back then, Noya Ogawa. Both of these guys had a very long personal rivalry for a year, like real life rivalry. Ogawa was a guy who was a shoot fighter. You know, he was a guy who was doing MMA. Hashimoto was also very versed in like MMA and also did a lot of like karate. Yeah. Even though he was a big chunky guy, like he was no slouch. Like he could beat your ass for real. And throughout their rivalry, you know, Ogawa, you know, pinned, beat Hashimoto with a choke to set him up for a title match. Hashimoto defended it later on and knocked Ogawa out, like kicked him and knocked him unconscious. And then they of course did matches where Inoki was doing these whole things where they would take New Japan guys and send them to MMA matches, and it would be like a clash of styles. Ogawa actually in real life, he shot on Hashimoto. It wasn't a worked shoot. He legitimately beat Hashimoto's ass mid-match and bloodied him up, and it was apparently a big fight that happened. Wow. You know, a matter of fact, Iizuka was involved in that skirmish. And actually knocked out another trainer. Like there was a big whole fight, so it got personal. And then it finally, at some point, you know, Ogawa was kicking, you know, was doing a lot of things, and Hashimoto was still doing things. They kind of separated for a while. Yeah. And then around 2000, Hashimoto was like, you know what, damn it, I challenge you to a match, and if I lose against you again, I'm done with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'll retire. I'll fucking retire. And Ogawa was like, okay, fine. If I beat you, you're done. Like, you're out of New Japan. They had this emotional match, dude, where it was like back and forth, a lot of like stiff kicks and submissions. And it was almost kind of like an MMA style match. There was a couple of times where you thought Hashimoto was going to knock Ogawa out. And then Ogawa was able to counter and hit him with the STO like 5 times in a row. Just kept slamming him hard over and over. And it knocked Hashimoto out, and Hashimoto lost. After that, it wasn't necessarily like Hashimoto wrestled a couple of more matches for New Japan, but he's like, all right, well, I'm done. I'm out of New Japan. And a lot of people try to talk Hashimoto out of it. Like, no, don't do it. And even afterwards, Ogawa was like, I actually regret retiring him. Like, he actually was remorseful that I ended his career in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And then, of course, he was responsible for the other promotion. Hashimoto went on to start 01 Pro Wrestling, which was another promotion out there. You know, Sonata wrestled for 01 for quite some time. And you know, he still had some matches. He passed away, you know, years later, but Hashimoto was one of those guys who was, but like, besides Masahiro Chono and Keiji Muto, aka the Great Muta, you know, he was like one of those musketeers. Like, he was like one of those guys, like, you know, like the pillars of New Japan back then.
Yeah.
So the fact that he had to retire was super emotional. And, you know, for me, I was starting to get back into New Japan because, like, at that time it was all about tape trading. So, you know, I saw some stuff with Liger and the Super J Cup and stuff like that. But then now that I was actually living in Japan, I get to watch New Japan on TV weekly. So I kind of understood what was going on. You know, I started to pick up on it. So after that, it was like, fuck, wow. And it was just really interesting because this was more so like a shoot, like a work shoot type style, which I know doesn't always go popular in American audiences, which is why I was such a big fan of Bloodsport. That happened, you know, with Matt Riddle last year, and then of course, you know, this year for Game Changer. Yeah. With but yeah, like this match was definitely like emotional because, like, wow, you're seeing a legend end his career, and he didn't want to on storyline. So it was like, wow, and you could see the people in the audience were super emotional. So super heartbreaking. Go watch it on YouTube. It's a good match for. It isn't flashy. It's very hard hitting, but that's just kind of adds to it, is that there's a very old school feel to it, and I just loved it, you know. But anyway, I rambled too much.
That's a good one.
What about you? Now we're on to number 3, right?
I think my next one, number 3. I don't think my next ones are gonna be as great, but this one, that I have this one because it just, back then, what it did is just surprised me a lot. I mean, more than that, it was just amazing. You know, these three big 3 stars when this happened. When Jericho won the Undisputed Championship on Rock and Stone Cold.
Yeah, when he pinned them both. Yeah.
Yeah, when Jericho won the Undisputed Championship. Yeah, I think for me, like I said, it was just surprising, different that they were doing that, and again, just 3 iconic guys in wrestling at that time.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that, like, essentially Stone Cold, I mean, he's been retired for years.
Yeah.
The Rock retired, but will make his appearances here and there.
Yeah.
But Jericho is going still strong.
Yeah.
You know, still strong. And the thing is, like, I feel like that match was kind of like the precursor to an awesome career. You know, yeah, because I remember, like, everyone was shocked, like, what? Even if he cheated, it didn't fucking matter. He still beat him, you know? It didn't fucking matter. I completely agree. Like, that was a very, like, wow, holy shit. Like, Stone Cold lost and Rock in the same night.
Yeah.
Which to this day, he still even brings that up as a heel character. He's like, I'm the only guy to beat both of those guys, 2 of the best ever of all time, in the same fucking night. Which is, yeah, like, I remember as a teenager, I was like, holy shit, he did that. Fuck. Wow. Yeah. Shocked.
That's why he's Jericho's a big star now.
Yeah, exactly. Jericho, in my opinion, is one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to even say, like,
GOAT.
he's the greatest of all time behind Rock and Stone Cold. Fuck that. He is next to those guys.
Yeah.
You know, just especially, I mean, he's proven it with his career, especially lately.
Maybe even becoming better than them now. I mean, as far as wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, for my number 3 is a very new one. Wrestle Kingdom 11, 2017. Kenny Omega versus Okada, number 1. And the reason why, I know some people saying the second one was better, and then the third one, you know, finally Omega got the win in the G1, and then eventually they fought again, and when Kenny Omega finally won, that was a big emotional thing. But for me, you can never truly replicate that first time. You know, you can have better ones, but you'll never forget the first. At the time, when in 2017 was when I was in the middle of really getting into New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yeah. Like, I got back into New Japan Pro Wrestling around 2014, and I was really, you know, invested, and I was really, you know, the Bullet Club was taking off. But then when this match was bigger than Bullet Club and T-shirts and stuff like that. Like,
even I have it on my number 2.
In your number 2?
I even wrote it down. See?
Wow. So your number 2 is okay. So that's your number 2. That's my number 3.
That's so cool.
And the thing is, like, the first one, you can never forget the first one.
Yeah.
45 minutes of just 2 guys beating each other's asses, and they were getting so emotional in that ring. Like, nobody could pin the other guy. Like, for the love of God, they could not beat each other. And then when Okada kept getting up for those last V triggers to hit his, you know, Rainmaker clothesline. Yeah. Not once, but like 3 times, and then a pile driver. Like, God damn. Like, I was like thinking, how much is it gonna fucking take for this match to end? And I was jumping because there was like so many false finishes. It could have gone either way. A lot of people didn't think Kenny Omega was going to take Okada that far. And a lot of people didn't think Okada had it in him to take it that far. In fact, this match elevated both of their careers. Talking about it now, like, I'm still getting goosebumps thinking about it. Cause, like, fuck,
that was an amazing match.
You know, which it just, I knew Kenny Omega was good. That match pushed him
to that next level.
Yeah. And for Okada, I knew he was good. That match put him at the next level. In fact, this match was the very match that pretty much brought these two into the conversation of greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Was this match one of the greatest matches of all time? Also, Uncle Dave, can't forget, he gave it a 6 star.
Yeah.
6 stars, which, apparently he's never done that for an American match since like Shawn Michaels and Undertaker and Bad Blood back in the 90s or something like that.
Yeah.
Fuck all the ratings. It was just the way I felt watching that.
Yeah.
It was like, fuck, this is wrestling. This is so good. And I'm pretty sure the same could be said for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say ditto because I agree with you totally. That's why I had it on number 2. That was an amazing match. I mean, it had a little bit of a tear in my eye after I watched it. I was like, oh man, I can't believe I saw that.
Yeah, and I can't believe Kenny. Like, you felt bad for Kenny. Like, you thought he was gonna win, and he fucking didn't.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of people felt that his championship run was a little lackluster, you can't forget that the chase was what really put him over.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that he's had such an awesome takeoff since that point.
Yeah.
Okay, now for your number 3.
Number 2. Oh, go for your number 2.
Or number 2. Okay, well,
yeah, that was my number 2. Okada versus Kenny. Yeah, number 2.
But what about your number 3?
Number 3 was the Jericho Undisputed Championship.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So then I'll go again.
Number 2,
RVD versus Jerry Lynn. The first time, Living Dangerously, 1999.
Oh,
at that point, like, I was in love with the cruiserweights, and this is also when I started getting into Japanese, like, tape trading. So I would see, Liger, Great Sasuke, all these, like, technical, like, high flying matches. But this match combined, like, high flying and technical wrestling and just brutal kicks, and also them using weapons, and it just showed you how fucking amazing RVD was in his prime, but then also showed you how underlooked Jerry Lynn was. And that match put Jerry Lynn on the map, because for years Jerry Lynn was on the indies. He was a great wrestler, but always a little underutilized. And then with this match, like, they fucking killed it, so much so that it was a draw for the TV championship. They asked for 5 more minutes. RVD hit the 5-star frog splash within the 4th minute, pinned Jerry Lynn. RVD, who at that time was like the whole fucking show, Mr. Monday Night himself, cocky as all hell, even he gave props to Jerry Lynn at the end of the match. Like, I gotta give it up to you. Like, no one has ever taken RVD to the limit. I think he held that TV championship just shy of 2 years. And Jerry Lynn was the one guy to come that close to taking that title from him. And that match was just beautiful, man. It's like, when you see stuff like Ospreay and Ricochet now, or the choreography of like Dragon Lee versus Bandito versus Taiji Ishimori, and you see a lot of that back and forth counter chain wrestle move, flippy floppy stuff. That started, in my opinion. Other wrestlers in Lucha Libre did the same thing, because that style was a very Lucha Libre thing. But I think in terms of American wrestling and how we view, like, you combine the martial arts with the flips and the technical wrestling with the counters and false finishes, RVD and Jerry Lynn is what set the bar on how to do that style of wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, people copying them now.
Yeah, exactly. So, 20 years later.
Yeah.
20 years later, I still see hints of RVD versus Jerry Lynn in a lot of these fast-paced matches.
Yeah.
But you never, like I said, just like Omega and Okada with RVD and Jerry Lynn in 1999, at that time, that was so new. It was like people didn't see that kind of thing back then. In fact, people in All Japan Pro Wrestling used to remember Stan Hansen told RVD in All Japan Pro Wrestling, was like, you keep doing that shit, kid, your career won't last more than 5 years. RVD had a very long career, and a good one at that. And Jerry Lynn was able to enjoy the latter part of his career, knowing that he put on this beautiful body of work, which always, for me, was always tragic that Jerry Lynn never got to go over in WWE as much. But this match, dude, was like fucking wow. Like, I'd never seen, I mean, like I said, I've seen the flip stuff, seen the high flying, I've seen the Lucha Libre, I knew how good it can get, but when you combine all that, like, it combined every aspect of wrestling, like the strong style kicking and punching, the spots, the violence, the high flying. It had everything I loved. So this is why I love that match so much.
It's a top match. I'm going for my number 1, and this one's not any big promotions. It was just a local show, and even in fact we have it here on a poster of it in the Tiger Driver Radio Studios up there. Cody Rhodes was in Austin for a Wrestle Circus. This was in August of 2017. This was just when he had joined Bullet Club.
Yeah.
And this was pre anything about the Elite. It was just, he was just starting in the indies. This was after his controversial list he made of all the people he wanted to face.
Oh yeah, I remember that tweet.
This was versus Scorpio Sky, which is in AEW now. This match changed the way I viewed wrestling. I was so into WWE at the time. This one made me a fan of everything else that was out there that I was missing out on. New Japan and everything, Ring of Honor. And like I said, it was just just made me a fan of everything else, not WWE. So to me, that's why I liked it so much.
It was just eye-opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, man. And that's the beauty of it. This is, like I said, I'm not anti-WWE, but I will tell people constantly, don't watch WWE right now. There's a lot of other good shit out there. Go support that. Make it viable for these guys to make a living outside of the E. And it's ironic because my number one is a WWE match. But not by much. And it was, for me, Cactus Jack versus Triple H at the Royal Rumble 2000. It was a street fight.
Yeah.
It was, and this was bloody. And the thing is, I know this is in the middle of the Attitude Era, but I was shocked of how much violence they let happen in WWE. Because in WWE, you had the chair shots and you had blood spots, and that stuff happened. But the fact is that it was Triple H pretty much beating up Mankind for months and just insulting him and just belittling him to the point where Mankind's like, you know what? I'm not taking this shit anymore. And you forced my hand to do something I don't want to do. I got to be Cactus Jack. And Triple H was scared, oh shit, I got to face against him. And in this match, you had just chair shots, just ugly chair shots. And then, mind you, this is a year after the controversial Rock versus Mankind I Quit match, where Mankind took 20 chair shots to the head. So this match was violent because it's you had Cactus Jack take a barbed wire bat and carving Triple H's forehead in a WWE ring in Madison Square Garden. Yeah. This, mind you, this is a blood hungry ECW crowd. Triple H was at that time, he was, in my opinion, Triple H is this big mega star now. He runs NXT. He's a big wig, for Titan Towers. But the fact is, I feel this rivalry is what put Triple H on that next plateau in his career to become a main eventer. Because at the time, Rock wasn't really doing much at the time just yet. Stone Cold was out injured. So you pretty much were relying on Triple H and Cactus Jack to headline the show. And this match was just, it was storytelling and violence. There was a good story about a man being forced to go to far lengths to fight back. And then, of course, Triple H, who was so good at being a heel, a young, cocky heel back then. But yet Cactus Jack was just violent. I remember he suplexed him on a wooden crate, and that wooden crate broke and stabbed Triple H right through the calf. Yeah. For real. You saw Triple H look he looked down, he's like, fuck, oh my God, I got stabbed. And then there's just blood everywhere, dude. It was just violent. It was an ECW level violent match, but in Madison Square Garden, which was just fucking amazing. So for me, I loved it so much because it was a perfect combination of storytelling, pure violence. It wasn't just violence oh, I'm just gonna fucking staple you because I can and stuff like that. Not that I don't like violence, but I think violence in terms of storytelling works so much better because it means more. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's fuck, this guy hates this man so much, he's willing to fucking cut him up like that with the barbed wire bat. And then also they did a spot where Cactus Jack got handcuffed, and you're oh fuck, this is gonna be last year where Rock fucking handcuffed him and beat his ass with a chair. Cactus Jack took a couple of chair shots, but he was able to headbutt him between the legs, and even The Rock came out to save Cactus Jack. And then, of course, the cops came out and uncuffed him, and the match continued. It ended with Triple H pinning Cactus Jack after a pedigree on Thumbtack's face first. Yeah. Which I was fuck, that's such an insane spot. And even afterwards, even though Cactus Jack lost, Triple H looked like he fucking lost. He was covered from head to toe in blood. It was just terrible. And even then, Cactus Jack got up, beat his ass some more, and threw him in the ring and hit him with the barbed wire bat one more time, and then walked out. But it was just a perfect combination. Storytelling, violence, and one of the world's best arenas ever in Madison Square Garden. So that was a real thing of wow, that's so good. It was it just made me emotionally invested.
Yeah, it seemed like it was everything you love in just one match.
Exactly. Triple H versus Cactus Jack was not technical. It was just violence and storytelling. And then on the flip side, I also respect the RVD, Jerry Lynn, Omega, Okada, where it was emotion and technical wrestling. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I love wrestling. That's the beauty about. I saw some guy comment the other day about saying oh man, I just recently watched Dragon Lee versus Will Ospreay. What a fucking insult to wrestling. It's all choreography, like kung fu. This is bullshit. I'm like, Fuck you. Suck a dick. Just eat shit, dude. Like, that's the beauty about pro wrestling, is that there's so many different ways to tell a story. And, you know, no one way. I don't think any one way is right.
Yeah, just like the Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes match that just happened recently. That's another emotional one.
Exactly.
That one, it was bloody. It got bloody too, but it was technical.
It had technical moments.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it was more about emotion. It's like they were building off of the animosity between two brothers. And in years, when did you ever think you'd see Goldust get a reaction like that? Or, you know, Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
Fucking never. Because WWE would never give him that platform to do something like that.
Yeah.
Because they think, oh, well, he's an older wrestler now. We'll use him to put other guys over. Yeah. Which, fine, fair enough. You got to put your younger guys over to build them up. Mm-hmm. But the fact that you had a guy who's pretty much in the twilight of his career to be able to put on a match that damn good, it's like, wow. It's like, fuck, he can still do it if you let him. And it was also super emotional. And that's when I watched that, and then I was just seeing people's reactions to certain things online. I was like, you know what matches really made me like emotional? Like, and that's why I brought it to bring it up, man. Yeah. So I mean, it's funny that you and I had the same one of Omega versus Okada number 1, because in recent history that's a big one as well.
That's a huge one. Yeah.
Absolutely. I will say I have an honorable mention because I didn't know whether to put it in or not. I kept going back and forth. Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Eddie Guerrero, Halloween Havoc 1997.
Oh man, yeah, I should have picked on.
Yeah, that's no reason why it's an honorable mention is because there was other matches that made me more emotionally involved, but in terms of like being fascinated, this is what made me fall in love with Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. Just both guys who are just amazing talents, who are legends in their own right. But that was an honorable mention. But before we leave, man, tell these people, man, where can they find us?
On Facebook, Tiger Driver Radio. Instagram on Tiger Driver Radio. Twitter on Tiger Driver Rad 1, or email us at tigerdriverradio@gmail.com.
Sweet. And on that note, man, I got nothing else, dude. You?
That's it for me.
All right, man. Until then, kids, enjoy pro wrestling. Check out all the other interviews on all of our platforms.
Yeah, anywhere you listen to podcasts, even YouTube, you'll get them there.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Music, which be careful. They're getting ready to shut down anytime now.
Yeah.
And then
Google Podcasts.
Anywhere, man. Any ideas, please hit us up. Until then, enjoy pro wrestling.
Ay caramba.